So this is a 10 activation free folk. It's mainly what I got painted. We got Ygritte for a bit of control. We have Cresta for some flexibility, and Stir for a bit more damage output because I haven't got very many attachments to any of my units. If we start from this side, we have Free Folk Raiders by pairs, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have no upgrades, Deaf Eskimos, they're cheap and throwaways. Then we have fucking Fens, which are my favourite unit with the Taunt Orders and Set Defense. No upgrades here. Big point unit, we have the Bone Lords Chosen, which is definitely the better way to play these guys, and they have to have Rattle Shirt, the Lord of Bones, in order to take the unit on tail, much like Ned's Honor Guard. And lastly, one of the probably the best units in Free Folk in my opinion, which is Cape Dweller Savages. Very cheap, very vicious, very fast.
Yeah, they are. I'm not looking forward to that.
So 10 activations are fun.
Great, as opposed to this 7 activation Lannister list that we've got here. So the commander is the Mountain, and I put him in a squad of Lannister halberds because I like giving him sundering in a unit. Then to the left I've got his brother, the Hound, in a unit of Mountain's Men. To the right of them I've got another unit of Mountain's Men with Dario, so one of the new heroes, and then on the right we've got some Stormcrow archers, cough cough, not released yet, cough cough cough, with Bronn. And my 3 NCUs are Peter Baelish, Cersei Lannister, and Pycelle. Back to another battle report of A Song of Ice and Fire. So we've got Lannisters versus Free Folk. I was fortunate enough to go first. So in round 1, I grab Cersei. I take the letters, draw 2 cards, attach her to some raiders, and weaken some Fens. In response to that, Ado takes the horses. He then takes Steer, puts him on the horse, attaches Steer's card to the Stormcrows on my far left flank, and then decides to move the raiders on his far left flank up to the barricade. So in response to that, I put Peter Baelish on the money bags, but I use his ability to replace that zone's effect with the crown, and crowns out the unit of raiders, causing 8 wounds, with all of the Lannisters that are applied with Cersei and the corpse pile and the crown. Ygritte then takes the crown zone to stop me from crown zapping that unit again, and she influences the unit of Stormcrow archers. So I feel like Ygritte is a special case to the rules, because I know you're not supposed to be able to influence 2 units, but her card says that you can do that. I then roll a morale test and fail, and lose 6 men. I get Pycelle to take the attack action. Weaken the Fens, and then activate or target the Stormcrow archers, allowing them to move forward 2 inches, and then make an attack. And then play Paid Mutiny when the raiders activate to get them to take a -5 morale test, which I know they'll fail, causing 3 wounds. However, he does activate and removes the barricade.
In response to that, I march the mountain's men up 9 inches and pivot ever so slightly, ready for the charge. Craster's activated and does nothing. I then move Dario's unit up 5 inches. The second unit of raiders is activated and they march up 10 inches, just shy of the giving tree. Then I take Santa's unit and move him up 4 inches, ready for a bit of a staggered charge. Another unit of raiders is activated and they go and stand next to the first lot of raiders. Finally, I activate the Stormcrow archers, move them up 2 inches so that they're covering that objective. Now with this 10 activation list, that's me activated out. So the Bone Lord's Chosen march up 10 inches, and the Savage Cave Dwellers march up 11 inches, giving them the opportunity to jump straight onto the objective. The last unit to activate is the Sens, and they're also going to march up as well, getting ready to try to utilise their order to force people to charge them. We then go through the cleanup phase. Because I'm first player, I choose to leave Ygritte on my Stormcrow archers and remove Steer. Then remove Ygritte, causing the Stormcrow archers to take no hits. At the start of round 2, Ygritte takes the horse, but I play Intrigue and Subterfuge. So I do that to shut down the NCU abilities, because I didn't want her to attach to any of my units, or be forced to discard a card. The Cave Dweller Savages then make their free maneuver, 5 inches forward, still holding the objective. I take Cersei and I jump onto the money bags, and then I attach her to the Cave Dweller Savages, but I use the money bags ability with the Stormcrow Archers to allow them to make a free attack action. So I shift back 2 inches and fire. Normally it would only be 5 dice, but with Bronn and only the money bags turns it to 7. And I hit 3 times, killing 2 savages. Then I get my opponent to take a morale test, which he fails by 1. So the Cave Dweller Savages are going to declare a charge against the Stormcrow Archers. Rolling 2 dice off the corpse pile, not looking for a 1 or a 2, rolls a 5 and a 6. So definitely in there. Our line's 100% because of the barricade. We're then discussing what types of things to add to the Cave Dweller unit, because they can add some special kind of rules to their attacks. My opponent decides on Sundering to reduce the save of the Stormcrow Archers from a 5 to a 6. Rolling 7 dice, he hits 3 times. Then with the reroll, hits 2 more times. So I roll 5 dice to save, and save none. Lose all 5 men. And I'm left with Bronn. I'm outside of 6 inches, but I pass on morale because of the +2 from Bronn controlling the money bags. And then, in retaliation, oh, that's right, he chucks on Mark of Slaughter after attacking my unit. I then take Peter Baelish and put him on the swords. Does stop with Cave Dwellers taking the free attack, but replace the ability with the letter, gaining 2 cards, and then I put a vulnerable token on the Thens. Steer then takes the letters and draw 2 cards, and I play intrigue and subterfuge to stop Tia from influencing a unit. Then put Pycelle on the crown, caused the raiders with one model left to take a panic test. Placed a weakened token on the cave dollars. The raiders fail their test and are removed. The Fens then rotate and walk forward onto the objective. And then rotate back. Now the thing that I wanted to see all game is Dario and Harris. So I activate Dario's unit and declare a charge against the Fens. We then check to make sure that I'm not going to touch the corpse pile or any of my other units. So I'm just going to pivot slightly and go straight in. I roll a 4 to get in. I then flipped Dario's order, which allows me to ignore saves on the roll of 6. And then, because I was caught up, I did this wrong, but I also played Fury of the Mountain to crit on 5. I realised obviously they have the same trigger, but we are a bit rusty, haven't played in a while. So I roll 10 dice, hitting on 3s, and I miss 5 times. And because of Fens, you can't have a reroll, you get no charge bonuses. But I did roll 2 6s. And then I spent the vulnerable and killed 7 men. So he did pass his morale test, unfortunately. We did get interrupted by a couple of people trying to point out ways to play the game. So the next thing that my opponent does is he selects the raider unit and countercharges into Dario and Harris. So he's in the front, rolls a 5, gets straight in. Now they're with their sort of pack tactics almost, if you will, they get +1 to hit with 6 dice. And he played Group Assault to gain Critical Blow and Sundering. So with the 6 dice, and the reroll, so many 6s. So with the 6 dice and the reroll, there were 8 hits caused. I lost 5 men from the attack. And then rolled an 8 for morale. So the Mountains unit charges the Fens. I don't disorder, jump straight in, but don't get any bonuses for charging against the Fens. So with the Mountain, he does D3 automatic wounds. So I caused 6 saves and 2 automatic wounds. So six saves with Sundering, which failed, and I wiped the unit, and that is the first victory point to the Lannisters. I then surge forth, drop all of my miniatures, and land on the objective to hold that with my commander for an additional 2 victory points at the end of the turn. We pack up the Fens and move them. We pack up the Fens and move them to the side. Then this ready unit activates and decides to declare a long charge against Sandor Clegane's unit. I believe he fails. Moves to an inch away, needed a 9, rolled an 8. But does pass his morale test and stays. So then I attack with Bronn. The good part about having Bronn is you do get those 2 additional attacks. So instead of having 3, for 1 rank I get 5, but I'm hitting on 5s. So that caused 2 hits with 1 wound. And then I play Hear Me Roar on their panic test, which I was going to play anyway. My opponent just rolled very quickly, so we counted that first roll as the original roll. I panicked it, and then caused another wound with panic. So the Bone Lord's chosen pivot, and then just jump onto the objective. Then I use Sandor Clegane. I declare a charge, trying to see if I'm in. I can get into the cave dwellers, which I can't, so I jump into the raiders. So I caused 9 hits on 8 dice. And I kill 5. So lots of 5s and 6s rolled there. Then I play Hit Me Roar again, with an overall -3 panic check for the unit. He rolled poorly and that caused the unit to be removed. So then I surged forth an inch and pivoted slightly. The raider unit charges the Mountain'sman unit, with the reroll causing 4 hits. I lost 1 man, and because I was within 6 inches of the tree, just managed to pass morale. So the Free Folk gain 2 victory points at the end of the turn, and I am on. So at the start of round 3, I take Peter Baelish, put him on the swords, but swap it for the money bags and heal Dario's unit for 3. Just debating whether or not I should attack with Peter Baelish. Ygritte then jumps onto the horse and attaches itself to Sandor's unit. Then the raiders in combat with Dario retreat 8 inches. I then take Cersei. I put Cersei onto the letters. I attach her to the raiders that are engaged with Sandor's unit to make up for the fact that Vicious is gone, and then I draw 2 cards, and I weaken their raider unit as well. Steer takes the crown and replaces its effect with Endless Horde. I forgot that I had a counterplay in my hand, or I would have played it. The Thans are brought back onto the table without an activation token because Ygritte controls the horses. Steer then influences the Thans. It's a nasty little combo. So Pycelle jumps onto the money bags, weakens the Thens, but then what I do is I play Orders to Destroy, and I charge with the Halberdiers into the raiders that have just retreated from Dario. So I successfully make the charge, no ones. and I 50-50 to the right left of the unit. I roll +2 dice and deal D3 wounds because of Orders to Destroy and being a Mountains Men unit. So I cause 3 wounds total, and then after the reroll, 6 hits. So we remove the 3 wounds first, and then 6 sixes. So 5 die, and I use the panic to make the raiders reroll their panic test, and they pass both tests. I then make the halberdiers active. As a side note, I shouldn't have done that because it was a free charge, something that I overlooked. The raiders then shift and attack. 3 hits, kills 3 men, and then I fail morale and lose another 2 men. So it was an excellent attack. He then attaches gruesome reminders to them. Bronze unit makes an attack with 5 dice for being in line. But unfortunately misses all of them. So after Bronze unit fails with its 5 attacks, the Thens are declared to activate. They then charge or declare a charge against the halberds. We're then trying to work out whether or not it is front or side, based on how much of the unit tray can see me. We're going backwards and forwards. We then just decided that it was the front, so I flipped the order token on the halberdiers to be able to make a free attack. I did forget to roll the Mountains D3 here, so I score 3 hits and 2 die. And we also forgot to get them to take a morale test because they've been attacked, which potentially could have caused more wounds. So then, using an ability, he rolls an additional D3 wounds, very similar to the mountain. I weaken the 5 hits that he gets, causing only 3, but unfortunately I fail all 3 saves, losing 6 men. I then take a morale test at -2 because of the gruesome reminders, and I subsequently fail that as well, so that kills my commander, but I do play Lannister pays his debts, and I place both condition tokens on the Thens. The Thens then surge forth ever so slightly and pivot ready for a charge from Dario's unit. I then activate Sandor's unit and attack the unit of raiders that they're engaged with. So I hit 4 times with all of my attacks and 3 die. Then they take a morale test and lose an additional 4 people. I play Fealty to the Crown and restore all of those wounds back to the Stormcrow unit so that they can weather another round of attacks from the Cave Dweller Savages. So the raiders align 50-50. And then they roll their attacks and fail to hit because I weakened the 2 that did hit. So Dario's unit charges the Thens, and I completely forgot about the no charge bonus that's an innate ability on them. So again, I flipped Dario's order, hoping to cause a bunch of damage, and got to roll 8 attacks. So I rolled all 8 attacks. Without the reroll, though, I missed 5 times. And so because I missed 5 times, I actually wiped my own unit. And so I didn't even roll any sixes, and gave away a victory point for that, which was very frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating. But that is a bit of a lesson that I learnt. So the Thens lost 2 people, and I weakened the vulnerable the third attack or defense roll. And then when they take their morale test, they then lost another 4 men. So if I'd been able to survive, that would have been an excellent attack. But then we do play this wrong, and the Thens surge forth. They shouldn't have been able to. But at this point it makes very little difference to the overall game. So they surge forth onto the objective, and then just rotate on it to make sure that they're clipping it. Now, sorry, I got ahead of myself slightly. Now the Cave Dweller Savages will attack the Stormcrow Archers, so they give themselves +1 to hit and Sundering. So they have 5 dice hitting on 3s. I weakened the attack, but it didn't really change the outcome, and still lost 3 men. But fortunately, because of Bronn, managed to pass my morale test. So I'm activated out at this point, and the last thing to activate is the Bone Lord, who wheels or pivots and moves to the edge of the corpse pile, still making sure that he's touching and controlling the objective. So at the end of round 3, the Free Folk have gained 5 victory points. So at the start of round 4, the Free Folk player plays Surrounded and Exposed. I play Counterplot and roll a 1. So the Mountains men lose all of their abilities this turn. And I think Critical Blow is a keystone to me losing this game here. Steer then claims the swords, but I managed to play Intrigue and Subterfuge to stop him from attaching himself to anything. The Cave Dweller Savages attack the Stormcrow Archers and just kill the unit, gaining an additional VP. They then surge forth and pivot to be in the side of my Mountains men. I take Cersei and I place her on the letters, and I play Orders to Destroy, giving the Mountains men a free attack with 2 additional dice. So I score 7 hits, wipe the Raider unit that is in front of me. We're just clarifying some rules around how many attacks I actually get here. So of the 10 dice rolled, I score 7 hits, wipe the unit of Raiders, and then what I do is I decide to surge forth into the middle because I have a plan to try and shift the Bone Lord from the objective just there. But I think in order for this plan to work, I needed to rotate a little further. And that's okay. So the Cave Dwellers declare a charge into my flank, 50-50. And they elect to use the +1 to hit and Sundering. So they hit 5 times at -2 with the reroll, and I lose 5 men. I then fail my morale check and lose another 2. So then what I do is I take Pycelle and I put him onto the horse, which gives me a free retreat action. At this point, I forget that I can't move forwards when I retreat. I can only move sideways or back away, so I have to move a few inches to my right, making sure that I'm more than an inch away from these cave dwellers. Sorry, from the Raiders, just over there. So the Raiders then activate. And when they do activate, they declare a charge into the side of my Mountains men. 50-50 straight in. 3 attacks. causes 3 hits. I lost 1 man, but then rolled morale and failed it by 2, so I lost 3 men total, leaving just Sandor in the unit. I crowned that unit with Peter Baelish, and they passed their morale, which was infuriating. With such a low morale, it was terribly unlikely, just terribly unlikely, because what I wanted to do was then charge into the Bone Lord and potentially deal a lot more damage. So Craster jumps on to the board. He then uses his ability to draw a card and heal 2 raiders back. I then get Clegane to attack with 4 dice, hits 3 times, one of which was a 6, and then he saves 2 and passes morale. So at the end of round 4, Free Folk are on 11 VP, Lannisters are on 3 VP.